When we hear the word history, most of us imagine kings, monuments, wars, and victories. But history is far more than dates and names. Hidden in its shadows are stories that are rarely told, secrets so dark, so twisted, that they challenge everything we believe about human civilization. These are not tales of heroism or glory. They are the silent, grim truths of power, obsession, cruelty, and survival. These are the stories that textbooks ignore, yet they shape the world we live in today. Long before anesthesia or modern medicine, people experimented on each other in ways that seem unimaginable to us now. Surgeons operated without any knowledge of pain relief. Their patients writhed, screamed, and sometimes died, all in the name of discovery. Every incision, every observation, every note taken was a step into uncharted territory, testing the limits of the human body and mind. They measured reactions, recorded outcomes, and considered the human form as a canvas for knowledge, without a hint of ethics. Curiosity overrode compassion. Survival often came second to the relentless pursuit of understanding. In the sun-scorched deserts of ancient Egypt, rulers who called themselves gods demanded loyalty not only in life, but in death. Pharaohs did not travel alone into the afterlife. Servants, workers, and sometimes even animals were offered as sacrifices. The tombs, filled with gold and artifacts, were also filled with the silent testimonies of those who had been taken to ensure the ruler's comfort beyond death. Imagine a world where your existence could be erased to fulfill another's obsession with immortality, where life was measured only by the needs of those in power. This was a world where death was a tool, a means to an end, and the value of human life was often measured in obedience. Medieval Europe brought a new form of control: fear. Laws alone could not maintain order. The human mind had to be broken. Iron Maiden, the rack, and countless other devices of torture were constructed not merely to punish, but to send a message. The screams that echoed in dark dungeons were warnings to all: submit or suffer unimaginable consequences. In these shadows, cruelty became a lesson, obedience a necessity, and horror a tool of governance. The rulers understood that terror could shape society faster than any decree. The plague that swept through Europe in the 14th century, the Black Death, was a grim teacher. Death came to every street, every home, indiscriminate and unstoppable. Yet in the midst of despair, human curiosity persisted. Doctors and scientists, desperate to understand the invisible enemy, conducted experiments on the living. Some were done in hope of saving lives, others in cold calculation, the cost measured in human suffering. Protective gear was scarce, knowledge was limited, and the majority of the population became unwitting participants in a terrifying experiment that blurred the line between life and death. Science advanced, but at a price that few could fathom. Empires were built not just on ambition, but on blood. Ancient wars were not sanitized stories of strategy and heroism. They were crucibles of human suffering. Cities were razed, civilians slaughtered, and entire populations uprooted. Conquerors like Alexander the Great and Genghis Khan expanded territories with armies that left devastation in their wake. Survival became a measure of chance rather than skill. The tales of bravery often mask the scale of horror that accompanied these campaigns. The true face of war is brutality, unfiltered and merciless, and it is etched into the forgotten corners of history. Much of what we think we know about the past is incomplete because knowledge itself was fragile. Entire libraries of wisdom, such as the fabled Library of Alexandria, were reduced to ash. Scrolls, manuscripts, and scientific texts vanished, taking centuries of accumulated knowledge with them. The implications are staggering. How many discoveries, inventions, or truths were lost? What innovations could have emerged if these ancient minds had their ideas preserved? The absence of this knowledge continues to influence our world today, shaping civilizations that unknowingly repeat the mistakes of the past. Beyond physical destruction, ancient societies understood the subtle power of rituals and symbolism. Ceremonies were not mere superstition. They were mechanisms of control, psychology, and influence. Leaders and priests manipulated the beliefs and emotions of the masses, using fear, awe, and mystery as instruments of authority. Symbols carved into stone, chants repeated in rhythm, gestures performed in precise order. These were designed to affect behavior, to control thought, and to shape decisions without overt coercion. Long before the formal study of psychology, humans were masters of the mind. Even in the brightest cities, in the most sophisticated cultures, the dark undercurrents of power, obsession, and cruelty persisted. The pursuit of knowledge often walked hand in hand with ethical compromise. The desire for control, whether in medicine, governance, or ritual, created shadows that stretched across generations. It is in these shadows that the unspoken truths of history lie. Human ambition can illuminate the world, but it can also cast it into darkness. Across civilizations, power and knowledge were often intertwined with secrecy and fear. The rulers of the past understood something fundamental. Control was more effective when cloaked in mystery. Decisions were made not only in the light of day, but in the shadows of hidden chambers, where advisors whispered plans that could destroy entire cities. Those who questioned authority were silenced, sometimes subtly, sometimes with brutality that is almost impossible to comprehend today. Power had many faces, and the darkest of them often went unnoticed, hidden behind grandeur, celebration, and ceremony. In the ancient medical world, the pursuit of knowledge was relentless and often horrifying. Physicians would observe the progression of disease not in textbooks, but in real, suffering bodies. Amputations were performed without anesthesia. Infections were watched as they spread, and remedies were tested with little understanding of their consequences. Every illness, every injury became an opportunity to catalogue and comprehend the human condition. The line between science and cruelty blurred. Learning often demanded extreme sacrifice. And yet, these dark practices paved the way for the very medicine we rely on today, a paradox that echoes the complexity of human history. The Egyptian civilization in particular reveals a chilling dedication to the afterlife. Pharaohs, considered gods on earth, tombs were constructed with architectural precision, filled with gold, treasures, and inscriptions of spells meant to guide the ruler through the underworld. But alongside these opulent displays lay the silent cost of countless human lives. Servants, laborers, and even animals were chosen, not at random, but deliberately, to ensure that the pharaoh's journey continued uninterrupted. Their deaths, recorded only faintly in hieroglyphs and whispers, reveal the stark truth. The ambitions of a few could outweigh the lives of many. Medieval societies, in contrast, weaponized fear as an instrument of governance. Torture was both spectacle and warning. Devices with names like the Iron Maiden, the Rack, and the Judas Cradle were engineered with precision. Their function was not only to inflict pain, but to instill obedience in the population. Communities became witnesses to suffering, conditioned to submit through the mere possibility of witnessing horror. It was a system where cruelty became normative, and survival often depended on careful compliance. In these times, human life was valued not for its own sake, but for its capacity to serve as an example, a lesson to others who might challenge authority. When we examine these truths, it is easy to feel detached, as though these events belong to a distant, unrelatable world. Yet, the echoes of these choices resonate into the present. The ethical dilemmas faced by ancient physicians mirror modern debates in medicine and science. The structures of fear and obedience implemented centuries ago inform contemporary governance and societal expectations. The loss of knowledge continues to remind us of the fragility of human achievement. History's shadows are never truly gone. They linger, shaping our understanding of power, responsibility, and morality. To confront the dark secrets of history is not to glorify cruelty, but to recognize its persistence and its consequences. The stories of those who suffered, who were silenced, or who were sacrificed carry lessons about the human condition. They remind us that progress is often messy, moral clarity is rare, and the pursuit of power and knowledge is a double-edged sword. By studying these truths, we gain not only insight into the past, but also the tools to navigate our present, to discern between what is merely impressive and what is truly ethical. History, when stripped of its myths and sanitized narratives, presents itself as a landscape of shadows. It is a record of what humanity has achieved and a warning of what it is capable of. Understanding these shadows does not diminish our accomplishments. It enriches our comprehension of human potential, both light and dark. The stories hidden in ancient manuscripts, tombs, battlefields, and rituals are reminders that civilization has always been a delicate balance between creation and destruction, knowledge and ignorance, morality and ambition. The human experience, from the dawn of recorded time, is defined not only by discovery, but by the choices.